The IBC is utilized to find out the requirements of buildings. When a building requires a fire alarm system, the IBC specifically states that you're going to have the necessity for strobes. But what do we have to do when there's sleeping areas? Well, let's take 2 minutes to learn more about it. So, as I mentioned, the IBC requires strobes when we do have the requirement for a fire alarm system. And when we are looking at the necessity for strobes in sleeping areas, we're going to be looking to apply that information specifically to two different types of use groups. That's going to be our I1s, which are assisted livings, and our R1s, which are going to be hotels and motels. Now, we looked at the necessity for how many strobes or visibles that we need in sleeping areas based on the total number of sleeping or dwelling units. The table of 9075232 is where we're going to go to find this information. Now, the way that this table is laid out, you're going to see how many sleeping units are going to be there and how many of those sleeping units have to be equipped with visible alarm notifications. Can you do more? Absolutely. Codes are going to be a minimum standard, and if you're doing more than the code, that's always going to be okay. But this is the table that we're going to utilize when we are looking at I1 and R1 visible requirements in sleeping areas. Now, some of the requirements that we do see that have to be made or have to be met with our visibles in sleeping areas, they do have to be activated by the in-room smoke alarm. They also have to be activated by the building fire alarm system. So if there's an activation of either of those things, the in sleeping area visible notification of appliance has to activate. They are going to be required in all hearing impaired rooms. The code does not specifically give a method to how to achieve the requirement, just that it has to be done. So one of the solutions that we come up with is you're going to have from your panel to your, we'll call it your smoke detector or smoke alarm. You're also going to have one of these things for, if you're using a smoke detector, a 520 hertz sounder base. Upon activation, the sounder base will activate locally, alerting the people within that area. And because the sounder base is a 520 hertz, it meets the requirements of the codes for the frequency needed. So that is something that we do see being utilized as far as the audible. You're also going to have the necessity for an addressable module, notification output module, within the room itself, where activation of that detector will also activate the in-room visible notification appliance. Another place that we do see the necessity for visibles, not quite a table telling us how many we're going to need, but some requirements, is R2, which is apartments. All R2s are required to support future addition of strobes. And what we mean by this is that all units have to be pre-wired for the expansion or a wireless expansion in the event that somebody moves into that unit that needs some kind of visible notification. Strobes will only be added when they are required.